Hi, this is David Baumblatt from Terabint Leadership. Welcome to the program. Give you an update on a couple things, and then we'll talk about what is today's topic we're going to be talking about. Obviously, it's going to be something to do with race and particularly Black, African Americans, and whatnot. Anyway, what's interesting is if you know, my account this is on X. My account was suspended, I think for the fifth time. I have no clue what happened. As you all know, this is my fourth account on X. And if it got suspended, which I thought it did, if you remember my last episode, I was not going to create a new one. I appealed the suspension, and it was doubled down, or the appeal was, or the suspension was upheld. So they said, no, your account will remain suspended, and that was it. And same thing what happened before. I was just looking through some of my links, and I clicked on X, and there it is. The account's up. Not quite sure, but typical when you think about what's happening too with social media in America. You can never get a straight answer. So my first account, the one that was doing very well, it passed over 10,000 followers. The reason for the suspension, if you remember, was advocating violence, something like violence. And so typical question would be to them, which I did when I did my appeal, is what did I say? Something that, again, you think about, this is an American company or an American citizen. What did I say? Obviously, they would not provide that. My only guess would be I talk about civil war. And again, there's a difference between predicting violence and promoting violence. So again, they never get. So again, why I was suspended on this time, they never gave the exact information. I thought it was a permanent suspension. That's what they said. And now it's up. It is what it is. But it just shows you part of leadership. And we're talking about even in a country, you have to have a sense of stability. And the point is these social media platforms, you're on today, you're off tomorrow, you're suspended today, this suspended. And it just seems to be, especially if you have topics, which I've always said, revolve around leadership, revolve around politics, revolve around any type of religion, stuff like that. I truly believe if you don't pass through the gatekeepers, they're not going to allow you to do it. So it's not wise for you to invest too much. So anyway, I'm a paid member of X to get that blue check mark. Yeah, I'm not going to be paying anymore, which I did the first time, because it's to the point of, it's just not a very stable platform. Anyway, let's talk about some current events. And again, this episode, I'll do the things. This is to Chris. I'm not going to say the last name, Chris. That way I'll keep your last name confidential. Chris sent me an email, sent me some support. And part of that email, he mentioned he thanked me for my commentary on Chud the Builder. And so this episode is about Chud the Builder. And again, I don't know the specifics about Chud the Builder's case. But what I do know, and if you have common sense in America, it's as common as can be, particularly if you're a white man and you say the word nigger, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. And it's gotten to the point they've weaponized this word. And if we don't have free speech in America, then it's gone. And I've said many times, there's a time to be very tolerant with these words. You could call them foul language, whatever you want, when a person is either angry or when they're trying to make laughter and joking. This is why comedy in America is not very funny anymore. But the point is through your mission of attempt to be funny, or when you're angry, we should be tolerant. If that's not the case, you still have the freedom of speech to say what you want, but it's going to come across unprofessional. So when I think of Chud the Builder, I think of him, and again, I could be wrong, but we all know this could be the case with anyone, that perhaps people are saying this word nigger not because they're angry, not because they're trying to be funny, trying to do like a First Amendment audit. You've seen them all the time. Sometimes people do Second Amendment audits with guns, First Amendment audit with filming. So they just want to reaffirm that they could say this word, even though, like I said, I would never advocate going around to people and say, hi, how are you, nigger? It's an impolite word. But freedom of speech is freedom of speech, and it needs to be upheld. And I think Chud the Builder's case is, I think the justice system, to a white man that says the word nigger, it's going to be so biased against him, even though he could have done stuff that could be legitimately against the law. So maybe there was harassment, maybe there was physical violence. We get that. But the point is, if you couple that with some type of word that has a racist extremity, I don't know, you're confronting some Jews and you said, hey, you bunch of penny pinching kikes, that's going to be elevated in terms of hate speech, of any type of confrontation. And I don't believe that should be. But at the same time, like I said, I don't want to bore the story. We'll go through. But I would look at that word as calling someone a dickhead or an asshole. And that is, yeah, these are impolite words. And you should not be calling people that. But it is your freedom if you want to do it. But these words are so weaponized now that if you just say one of these weaponized words, the amount of legal trouble that you're going to be facing could be very severe. And that's against freedom of speech. So impolite word, absolutely. Should you not say it? Probably not. Again, if you're angry or you're trying to tell a joke, I think there should be tolerance. But normally, I think you're going to come across as unprofessional, but it's your freedom to do it. But we're talking legality. You start saying these words, and you're going to find yourself in legal trouble. And as a military veteran, what was I fighting for? If I'm not willing to defend freedom of speech, what exactly is the military fighting for? Hi, Gulen Tupit. Yeah, where have I been? Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember Gulen Tupit. I see Golden Tupit, my husky was attacked by a neighbor throwing punches, 3 football. Yeah, like I said, I would say the same thing again. I think we could all agree that particularly a white man, obviously, if you're a black man, you say the word nigger, especially that's totally different. But if you're a white man and you say the word nigger and it's followed by any type of confrontation, even though you might have not started that, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So again, is it an impolite word to say? 100%. But it shouldn't be a weaponized word, and it's truly weaponized. Anyway, we'll go into it a little bit, but so anyway, this topic's going to be about Black Americans, and this is about a little bit with the Chud the Builder case, even though we're not going to focus on it, because like I said, I don't know the details on it. But anyone with common sense knows a white man saying that word, you're going to find yourself in a lot of legal problems. Don't believe me? Yeah, you go around and do it. I mean, even me, the amount of censorship that I have. If you color outside the lines, we're talking the political apparatus of America, race, gender, Israel, you all own these topics. You're going to find yourself in a lot of legal problems. And I think that's the main thing that happened with Chud. Anyway, let's go on with a couple news things that I think is pretty interesting. And some people are getting this wrong. This happens all the time in the past, which is fine. Let's correct this. But what did I keep saying? You're going to continue to see things you've never seen before. And it all goes down to the same thing. Our systems are not working anymore. It's getting worse. So what do I mean? Well, let's go to this. This is an active duty Air Force. We'll watch this video quick.
I have seen the Mystics play there once or twice. Well, I knew they had a reason. Enchantment plays its cards all right, hand in hand with the...
Okay, so I think we got that there. 1 second. Let me... I don't know why this thing is not going here. Anyway, let's do a little point. First of all, people are talking about freedom of speech. Unfortunately, and it's not unfortunate, it's just the way it is. Of course, me being a former active duty U.S. Army officer, when you're in the military, you don't have freedom of speech. So let's just make a point. Again, I'm trying to look at this issue in a balanced perspective. So what that U.S. Air Force officer did is illegal, and he should be arrested. So just want to know, he doesn't have freedom of speech. But then on the bigger picture, he's calling that the President of the United States is acting outside the Constitution with the war in Iran. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to argue with that. And then if we go to the next stage, leadership, when you start getting active duty officers calling for the impeachment of the commander-in-chief, whether you agree with that or not, that's not good. So again, if you're a leader and your soldiers, whatever, start calling for the mutiny or you're taking you out of your position, they may be wrong, but either way, it's not good. And I keep telling you, Donald Trump, give it time. It's not like the Democrats are going to save us, but I just think what you're going to see is this system in America is going to get worse and worse. And I've said this before too, there are videos, we might do it tomorrow, but Donald Trump could quite possibly go down as probably one of the most corrupt presidents in history in terms of the financial insider trading. It just is what it is. I think, well, like I keep saying is, I think we're at the point, and I've said this many times, I'm unlike people because there's other videos talking again about this topic of civil war, of collapse. I knew this back in 2005. It's going to get worse. But if you think we're going to get this new president that's going to bring 350 million diverse Americans together, it's not going to happen, people. We have already crossed the Rubicon. So again, you can agree or disagree what this U.S. active duty officer is doing, but it's not a good sign. Now, if he's the only one, okay. But if there's momentum building, I mean, even look at me. I started out as a Trump supporter, not really much of a supporter now, not like I'm supporting the Democrats, but I'm going back to that original plan. I left America and I just want to be left alone. But I'm telling you, it's going to get worse. So again, an active duty officer, going and calling for the impeachment of the commander in chief, not a good sign. Is it an isolated event? Let's see. I don't think it is. I think it's going to get worse. Like I said, I'm not saying the Democrats are going to save it. This system eventually is going to fall apart. I'm reading Golden Tool. Anyway, let me go to another one here. 1 second. I don't know why this is not interesting. Going here. 1 second. Share this tab. All right. I guess that was different. All right. Hopefully, I don't know if everyone can see this here. This is something too that I talked about. This is from Bricks. We're going to talk about this really quick. France is testing an experimental combat robot unit designed to replace troops. Hopefully everyone sees that. All right. So this is my thought on that. I made a comment about this before. So societies collapse. We're going down this road. You've all seen these robots, and they're being built in China as well. Absolutely, they're doing extremely very well here in China. But anyway, these robots are going to end up killing people. I'm not saying at the level of the Terminator movies when they have their own AI. It could be, but they're definitely going to start killing people under the manipulation or control of a human. Just like we have drone pilots, we are going to be having. But they could. I mean, eventually it could get to the point AI. But either way, what am I trying to make the point? It's interesting. It's kind of like women. Women sometimes, when you look at them and say you should be a mother, they get offended and they say, what am I, just a broodmare? What am I, just a baby maker? Guess what, women? One day technology could quite possibly replace you and have, I don't know if you call it artificial wombs, but robotic, where babies are made, where they don't need women anymore. That's going to be a dangerous time for women. So again, women, your number one value to society is your ability to create children. What about men? You know what I keep saying about soldiers and if they draft us, refuse the draft, and we're not going to serve in our military anymore. It's going to come to the point with robots. We already have drones where governments are going to say, we don't need men anymore to be dead soldiers. We don't need you anymore. We're going to go robotic. It's a dangerous world. So we don't need women anymore to make children. We'll do that ourselves. I mean, we're talking with the globalists. They're going to control the robotic structures of the world. And then it's going to be men. Well, I'm not willing to serve in the military, defend you. We don't need you either. That's a pretty dangerous world. I keep saying, no matter, this is where I started to believe more and more about Bible prophecies, because what are the two elements that I keep predicting? Well, I don't need, it just happens. Technology and globalization. Those are two trends that have been going on for thousands and thousands of years to the human race. So what is going to be the future when globalization continues to increase and technology continues to increase? The mark of the beast, robotic. I mean, it's sometimes, I think it's going to be a dangerous world and that wars are going to come. Anyway, I thought that with France. I don't think France is by all means thinking that in their own vacuum. I think many countries, to include America, are thinking, how can I think about that? Once they get robots to fill the shoes of soldiers, don't have to worry about recruitment anymore. Don't have to worry about a draft anymore. So just like to the women who complain or who feel offended when men look at them as a baby maker, when you're replaced as a baby maker with robotics and technology, that's going to be a scary day to be a woman. Just like men, when men are replaced, I think it very well could be, when men are replaced where they don't need us to be soldiers anymore, where robots do it. That's a scary world. That's a lot of power concentrated again into the top 1% of the global elites. Anyway, like I said, don't see that I don't doubt that. Anyway, here's something else too. I thought this was small, but this is again our society. I put this, so Sarah Palin, this is the true Sarah Palin. There's a lot of fake accounts, 1.5 million followers. So Sarah liked my reply. Well, Sarah, if you're listening and you support military veterans, it'd be nice if you can repost or do something. This is the woman, again, who supports military veterans and wanted to be, I think she ran for vice president but lost. That's right. I think McCain, when she was vice president for McCain. But anyway, thanks, Sarah. Obviously, this is the point when people are like, are you sure the government knows about it? Of course they do. So Sarah, thanks for your like with my comment. It'd be nice if you support a military veteran, if you could press repost, especially a person like you who've spent their entire life on the American taxpayer dime public service. I'm a military veteran. Anyway, it just shows you that, yeah, these people know about me. Let's do one last video. This is about Chud the Builder. This is a current event or current status. Now, this is coming from a black man because, yes, race is real. We say white men, Asian men, black men. So, yeah, race is important. So this is coming from a black man who's pushing against Chud, and he's saying Chud the Builder and saying what he did was wrong. Guess what? Let's take both opinions on it. Again, I don't know the facts of the detail. Maybe Chud the Builder was wrong. But what I'm saying is, if you just use the word nigger as a white man, whatever trouble that you got in, whether, again, Chud is innocent or guilty, that nigger word is going to just take those charges through the roof, and it shouldn't be. And what would I, as a judge of the legal system, it's like calling someone, or what it should be is, what did you say? You said, I don't believe in hate speech, but there is definitely speech that's demeaning. So I would put in the same category as saying an asshole or a dickhead. We all have foul language, but for some reason, if you say that word nigger, it's going to go skyrocket. That's what I believe is a key element in Chud the Builder's case, that white man saying the word nigger, that's not going to be good. And I think it's wrong. Free speech is free speech. Even though it's impolite free speech, it is what it is. Anyway, let's take a listen to what this person says.
Fantastic video from C Reacts, and you should definitely watch it. I'm not going to play what she's saying, but I'm going to break it down for you guys. Now, she's talking about Chud the Builder, his fans, and just people in general, like harassing other people under the guise of free speech. There's a reason why you can get arrested for being disorderly, right? Disturbing the peace, or just.
And like I said, let's stick to the facts. If he was disturbing the peace, and I get that, but I'm just saying, all I'm trying to do here, we'll listen to this gentleman's thing again. Maybe Chud the Builder's wrong. All I'm saying is replace every word that he says nigger with the word asshole, which again, maybe he still is wrong. He should, but I think we all agree that if you say that word nigger, because it's considered hate speech, it's going to elevate that. That's my point. Other than that, I don't know the details of Chud, and maybe he was harassing people. And with that, yeah, there's a form of harassment. But we all know you use this weaponized word, you're going to get yourself in a lot of legal problems, and it shouldn't be. Anyway, here we go.
Harassing people. I think people think they can just go out and just talk shit to anyone, get in their face, call them slurs, derogatory names, whatever, and act surprised when the person wants to kick your ass. Like, I don't know what world you live in where you think that's okay. As a black man, I would never go into a white, Asian, whatever neighborhood, Muslim, and start making fun of their people, harass. It's just stupid. And really, it's not even about that. Because if you understand who Chud the Builder is, this dude's getting pegged by trannies. This guy's getting pegged by black women. He's not really about that. He's just here on this platform for clicks and views, like a lot of people are, and it sucks because there's a lot of like young, you could say white kids that are looking up to this guy. And like, it's a prime example. What are you going to do if some of that stuff gets on the internet and a position in power, maybe you want to work for a company one day, sees those sorts of things? One of the main things that kept him from getting bail was, one, he messed up on his bail the first time, so they're not going to give him a second chance. And two, she was reading his tweets and his posts and seeing his conduct. No, they're not going to release him. So there's a lot of copycats out there. Just think before you go and mess with people, because yes, maybe if they punch you or hit you or whatever, they'll get arrested, but you're still probably going to get your ass beat. You can't go around harassing people and expect no consequence.
Yeah, so we'll go on to the video, but again, is if you go around harassing people, absolutely, we don't want to live in a society where you harass people. And again, there's other offensive names that you could call people that would just be considered rude, and it would be a form of harassment. We get that. Again, I don't know the details of the case, and that's not someone you want to condone, meaning that type of behavior. You don't want a son who goes around harasses people. We get that. I don't know. I don't know the facts of Chud. What we do know is this word is particularly said by a white man, which is called the word nigger, which is why I don't like saying the N word. That's something you say to children, which we all know. Children should not hear profanities. It's like a child saying, "Mommy, what word did daddy say?" He said the F word. We all get that. A child should not hear this offensive word. But I'm an adult. I don't like when people say, "He said the N word." I don't know what that is. Neanderthal? Say it. I'm an adult. I'm a military veteran. Did he say the word nigger? Okay, he said the word nigger. This word is weaponized. So what I'm saying is, going back to Chud, I don't know the facts, but we all agree harassment, threatening behavior, we get that. because you could also do the same thing using other words like dickhead. But if you start using these racial words, it's within the law. I mean, this is even where the FBI can get involved, where there's federal statutes here, where there's hate crimes and whatever. It's just too much. It's become weaponized, and we have to ask ourselves, if we're going to have a nation of free speech, we need to, because the pendulum is moving. We all know that. We need to start redefining and reestablishing what free speech is. And if you want to call a person a nigger, it's very impolite. And I think most of us would frown on it. Again, I can understand if you're angry. I can even understand if you're telling a joke. If people laugh, it's a joke. If people are not laughing, then probably you're not a very funny person. But to go around and say that probably is going to be frowned upon. But that's exactly what free speech is. It's saying words that people don't want to hear. But if you get into the words where you're threatening behavior, harassment, that's a totally different category. And I do think he should be held accountable if his behavior's that. I just think, and I could be wrong, he's doing more of an audit, like a First Amendment audit, a Second Amendment audit. And with that, I understand it. Or maybe he's not. Maybe he's just a dickhead going around calling the word nigger. Well, I just think it's very unprofessional. I don't think you should do that, but freedom of speech is freedom of speech. Let's hold it in. Hopefully that's enough on Chud the Builder. I don't know much about his case, but we'll go in. Let's talk about some racial topics since we're on Chud the Builder. And one of the things I realized in China, because China is an ethno-state, it's homogeneous. When you're living in an ethno-state, their ability to talk about race is on a different level than us. Now, you got to remember, why are we talking about this topic today? One, I think it was a nice gesture on this guy, Chris. He sent me an email. He sent me some support. I appreciate Chris. And he mentioned about Chud the Builder. So I'm trying to tie this episode into Chud the Builder, which is about race. So we're going to have clips about Black people today. But something else, this channel is about leadership, which means there's obviously politics involved, there's philosophy, there's religion, but this is about leadership, and leadership is about people. And I want to ask you this, as an American, particularly white people, are you or are you not uncomfortable talking about racial topics? You are. I see it all the time. The Chinese aren't. So we have to ask ourselves if we're going, because there's going to be videos I'll do in other episodes where even MAGA, these are big name MAGA politicians who keep saying, you come to America as long as you abide by the law. It doesn't matter what race you are, this and that. I'm telling you, that's not leadership. Why? Because race is real. It's unfortunate. If you're a white person, you don't get it. Give it time. Race is real. I know you don't like hearing it for the same reason that MAGA pounds the desk and say gender's real. They love to pound the desk and say gender's real. And if you don't believe gender's real, you're a moron. Well, I got news for you. Like it or not, on the laws of nature, and basically everyone in the world except white people, and this includes the Jews too. The Jews are very racial people. Race is real. So you can either accept the laws of nature, or you are, as the MAGA like to say, the liberals are, you are a libtard. You're just a liberal woke moron. So we have to understand that one race is real. And this topic is very sensitive in America. And we're never going to come together because we're so diverse now. I keep saying we're going to split, but we're going to go into this video. And the topic today is, you could believe it now or you could believe it later, but multiracial societies don't exist. So we're gonna focus on Black people today, but we could focus on white people. White people are weird too. The Jews, I mean, there's a lot of comedy. You can look at the Jews. They're wacky people. But the point being is we have to come to terms that multiracial societies don't work. If you disagree with me, name me the country or society that's successful, that's multiracial. Doesn't happen. And again, once you exclude the Western, or once you exclude the non-Western countries to include Israel, the only countries in the world that constantly push this multiracial agenda are white people. In fact, I always say this again, people always want to look at the Jews. I'm telling you, if you're a white person and you say you're a white nationalist, the first people that are going to be in your face that want to put you in jail are probably white people. It's going to probably be a white man, a white woman. I mean, the amount of hatred of white people having against white people, I mean, it's the same thing I look at America. You keep looking at China's your enemy, Russia's your enemy, Iran. There's enough enemies in America, okay? Well, it's the same thing with white people. White people, look, it's the Jews. White people have enough problems with white people. This is why I really focus a lot on white men and white women, meaning the traitors who betrayed the patriots. I don't really have a problem with these other racial groups. It doesn't work out, though. breaking some people's heart. Multiracial societies don't work. But I'm telling you, the first people that are going to be in your face, that if you're an American say, I'm a proud white nationalist, I guarantee it's going to be white people that just have this hatred for you. You know, these would be the liberal white people, whatever you want to call it, because they've been what's the word I'm calling? They've been manipulated. They've been actually brainwashed by corporate media, the societies, that they just have this feeling of any type of white person that has white identity. Even there are videos too on Tucker Carlson. I'll do videos on him. He's getting better, but he is still adamant that identity politics is absolutely wrong. I'm telling you, if you believe identity politics is wrong, you're already a lost cause. I go back, every nation in the world, except white nations, has identity politics. You don't think Israel has identity politics that we are a Jewish state? We are Jews, 100%. You don't think China's the same way? We are Chinese. Everyone in the world has identity politics except white people. So even these white people like Tucker Carlson, that I like them, I'm liking them more and more. But you still, if you really talk about the racial topic, they all cuck out. I mean, everyone cucks out. MAGA are total cucks. I mean, again, as hard as they are on gender, you start talking about race, man, they call. So why, you have to ask yourself, why is it so difficult to talk about this subject? It's only in the West. It's only with white people too. Even Western countries don't have a problem talking about racial with Jews, with blacks, with Asians. It's all. But that topic in the West, particularly only with whites, why is it so sensitive? It's an interesting question. Why is it so sensitive? So anyway, that's today's episode. We're going to just talk about there's 10 clips about black stuff. It is what it is. But hopefully we could add some education, because I can tell you something. A lot of this stuff is just so uncomfortable to talk about. All right, let's go with one of the topics here. Let me go here. This is what. No, we're gonna. Remember what I kept saying about white men and white women? This is a white woman. Let me explain to her when she does her dialogue. I'll do some feedback on it.
They've asked me if I've dated black guys before is ridiculous.
The
amount of times I've been on dates with white men and they've asked me if I've dated black guys before is ridiculous. I was on a date with this white guy in Chicago last year and he goes, so who do you typically date? The guys that look like me? I knew exactly what he was getting at, because most white guys will ask this question at some point because they're trying to figure out ultimately if you're, quote, tainted. I literally said to him, does it bother you that you think about black men so much more than they will ever think about you? And that ended the conversation, but obviously we didn't go on a second date and I do think he was pretty offended by that. But the amount of white guys, even who are, quote, liberal, who are genuinely threatened and intimidated by you going on a date with people of color is ridiculous. Because it's not just black men. If they find out that you've dated a South Asian man or you've been on dates with women, specifically women of color, they will react similarly. Although it is obviously the most pronounced and genuinely disgusted that they will look if you say that you have been on dates with black men. But this is just one example of white men trying to figure out the, quote, purity of the white women they're seeing. And it's a way of resource guarding their own women because they don't like white women seeing other races or other genders.
Okay, let me just answer that. That comes around a lot. The first thing is this term racism. You got to understand what other people call racism. That's patriotism. Patriotism is the love of your people. So you want to call it racism, that's fine, but it's the love of your people. Because like I said, once you live in the non-Western world, to include Israel, it's patriotism. Now, what about women? Women, like it or not, men have different standards for women than women have different standards for men. It's the laws of nature and it's your freedom as a woman. Women love having their own standards. That's fine. Men, we find purity. Think about virginity. We find virginity as a very attractive feature on women. So first of all, if a woman sleeps around with whatever, the more you sleep around, hence body count, is the less attractive you're going to be for men. At least men that are looking for a wife, a mother of their kids versus a one-night stand. So that's the fact. Now, who you sleep around with too, yeah, it's a factor. Because why, women? We as men ask what type of standard you have. Just like women, when you say what job you have, you rate our jobs in terms of men, because a job could be a different status, it could be a different income. And so not every job is the same to women because they're looking for men that have high careers and high income. Well, guess what? When you date black men, and we talk about other, you've lowered your standards. Now people say that is the most racist thing. Where did you come up with that? I came up with that with black people. So now I'm talking with black men. So if you're a black man and you disagree with me, here's the problem. Most black men don't want to date black women. Why? they don't find them that attractive. That's not my fault, and that's what they're saying. So black men prefer to be with white women. I could go on and on about Asia. It's the same thing. So black men themselves, I mean, how many times have you seen a black man that says, I want to live in Africa? We'll just keep it simple. We're going to say an African American, because we do know European Americans, white Americans, they will sometimes move to Europe. They'll learn a European language. I mean, even like me, I learned German. I was very proud of it. So the point is, how many times have you heard a black man saying, 1, I want to learn an African language. 2, I want to live in Africa. 3, I want to find a black woman over a pretty white woman. It just doesn't happen. Why? Because don't talk to me, talk to black men. Because in black men's mind, they look at white women at a higher status than black women. Don't believe me? Trust me, that's how it is. I wish it wasn't. I wish black men would look at black women and many times I've said this with Asian women. I think Asian women, their lust and their fetish for white men is also out of bounds, that they should respect their father. So again, back to the racial thing too, I would ask her and say, does your father prefer you to be with a black man or Asian man or Indian man? Most times the father is probably not, the majority. And if she said that, then why aren't you being loyal to your father? Why aren't you being patriotic to your father? Because if a daughter is not respectful and doesn't have a sense of loyalty and duty to her father, well, she's probably not going to have that to you as the future husband. If she's not going to respect her father, she's not going to respect you as a future husband. So the point is if I had a daughter, people always say that, would you disown your daughter if she goes with a non-white man? Absolutely. But guess who disowns people first? My daughter would disown me before I disown her. Because when she gets with a non-white man, she's like, Dad, I'm not interested in your DNA. I'm not interested in your DNA. I'm going to have a mixed child. Let's go that way. So she obviously is not interested or respects or cherishes the DNA that her father gave her, and she wants to mix it. So that her choice right there was basically disown me. It's her choice. She has freedom, but she's going to know, no, I'm not into that. Because, I can go on and on, but let's just go because we got other videos to go through. But there's no doubt. So to the women, yes. If I find a woman for the same reason that you've slept around and you're slutty, that's going to lower your standards. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. That's the laws of nature. Men find virginity attractive. Same thing with racial. Anyone in their mind, even with a woman, really you're a white woman, you like black men? Why don't you move to Africa then? If you're so much into black men, you're not going to go. Because you even look as a white woman as Africa saying, fuck that, I'm not living there. And for the 1% of white women that do, then more power to you. If you're like, no, I like black, look at me. I moved to China. I learned the Chinese language. It's a form of respect to the Chinese. So if you're a white woman and you like black men so much, move to Africa, learn the culture, learn the language. Then if you get a black man and say, I'm never coming back to America, I want my children to have African passports, I would look at you differently. I'm not saying I would condone it, but I would say that's a woman who put actions behind her words. But the typical white woman is with a black man. Why? Because she usually, 1, can't get a high value white man. She might still be able to get a white man, but in her eyes, not a high value white man. So she settles. Or there could be a sense of rebellion to her father, it's not natural. Do you think it's not? Then why don't you move to Africa if black men are so much? And again, why aren't black men chasing black women? They don't find them attractive. Don't believe me? Watch it. It'll come out. Anyway, let's go to the next one. Let's talk with a black woman. And to the black women, this is about you. The next clip, I actually feel, I know if I say I feel sorry for you, you'll take offense and say, I don't need your sorry or this. But I would say every time you see a black man with particularly a white woman, because I could tell you Asian women are not into black men. I could tell you Asian women, in some ways, I have more respect for them than white women, because Asian women, they do have a fetish for white men. Except for white men, though, they're not into other. If it's not a white man, they're taking an Asian man. So anyway, back to the black women. Again, I'm about to say I feel sorry for you. I know you're going to take it offensive and feel like, who am I to have a high standard? But it is a disrespect to you when a black man looks at his black mother and says, I don't find you attractive. I don't find black women attractive. I want to get a white woman. It's a slap in the face. And I can tell you, to the black women, it happens all the time. I know this. It's as known as can be. And in fact, if black men can't get white women, man, they'll take Asian women. They'll take Indian women. It almost seems like they'll take any woman besides a black woman. It's a slap in the face to you. If you see a black man, don't blame the white woman. It's not her fault. Why? For the same reason that I believe racially, races many times police their own. Same thing with the Jews. They police their own. You should police the black man. The black man, the white woman, unlike Hollywood, white women aren't chasing black men. 9 times out of 10, the black man's chasing the white woman. So police your own. It's very disrespectful that he's doing, because this is not, there's always going to be anomalies. That's part of name. This is not an anomaly. The statistics are overwhelming, like who's chasing who. And generally speaking, Asian men and black women are just on the lower end of the attraction. Who's at the very highest end of the attraction, highest level? White men and white women. Not like I made the rules. It is what it is. So if you want to change the system, change your own people. Change your own. Convince black men that black women are the most attractive, and then tell them to chase you. Here we go. Keep going.
I changed my race to white on Hinge, part 3. I don't have good news. Since changing my race from black to white on Hinge, I'm seeing a completely different pool of people. When my race was set to black, I literally ran out of profiles to view, but now that I'm white in the back end of Hinge, I'm just seeing so many profiles. Majority, of course, are white men. So I have 5 matches. Could these men have filtered out black women, came across my profile and liked it anyway? I don't know. Unlikely. I don't think people's preferences change that quickly. What I think is happening is when my race is set to black, I am ranked lower. When it's set to white, I'm ranked higher, and therefore have kind of access to a different tier of profiles. I think this is a design choice by Hinge. If they wanted to change it, they could ensure that there is equal distribution of profiles regardless of race. But I don't get the impression that they want to do that. I don't know. I have Claude Code. I work in tech. I will vibe code it myself. Day 3. I think I have my data.
Okay, Leadership 101. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's subjective. But because it's subjective, and we're talking every country around the world, all races, I don't care if you're from Africa, China, Japan, America, it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But when you aggregate that data, I don't make the rules, but it is what it is, and I'm telling you. So she's trying to maybe blame Hinge. Black women are at the lowest end of attractiveness. It's a very impolite, well, the truth is hard. There's a Chinese saying called 忠言逆耳. The truth is hard on the ear. And I know it's impolite if you're a black woman, but then again, there's probably great things you could say about, we're also a Chinese saying, we all know that we've heard this saying, where there's bad, there's good, where there's a strength, there's a weakness, people balance out. And there's probably many things that black women have that are better than other women. But I'm not making the rules. And to the black women, I would really focus on black men and ask them, why do they not find you attractive? I don't know. I've had this conversation with Asian women. Asian women just don't find Asian men attractive. It's the laws of nature, and you can't undo it. All you could be like me is on a roller coaster ride seeing it. I'm just different than other white men because, one, I've seen a lot more in the world. And unlike 99% of white men in America, I know what it's like to live as a racial minority, less than 1% Asian. And another caveat to the black people, if you think white people don't treat you good, you better hope the Chinese don't rule the world. Because I can tell you something, how white people treat black people, if you think you don't like the treatment, wait until if Asian people rule over the world or wherever you are. Because I can tell you, there's a reason why there's not many black people in China. I know too, there was also a former West Pointer, a black guy, and he was in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is much more liberal than mainland China. He left, he went back to America. He was appalled by the racism. The Asian people are just not big fans of black people. So anyway, let's go back to the woman. It's kind of like the children, right? You go back to mom and dad and say, hey, why wasn't I picked for the sports team? Why didn't I make king or queen at the prom? I get it. We all get let down. We want to be popular. We want to be in the in-group. I get it. But sometimes you're not. And so I think the black woman, right, there's another video on her coming up that she's trying to make excuses of Hinge and this and that. I think maybe it's just natural. It's the same thing if you look at women and you're a very short man and you say it's unfair. Why don't you women find short men attractive? I don't know, dude. It's the laws of nature. And sometimes this is where maybe this life you're a short guy, next going a tall life. Sometimes you just got to look at the genetics you were dealt with. But Maybe there's stuff that you're overlooking. Maybe you're short, but you're really smart. Maybe you're short, but you're funny. I don't know. Everything's got pros and cons, but it's the same thing if you said, why aren't men attracted to black women? And it's the same thing. I don't want to go off tangent, but it's the same reason that white men and white women are getting more and more pressured. It's more about white men to date transsexuals. Why? Because we are not allowed to have preferences like race. Like you can, if you ask white people, white man or white woman, do you have any preferences with dating? White people are terrified to say, well, I'm more liberal when it comes to dating people. I've actually dated black women, but I sort of draw the line in the sand with children. I just prefer not to have children with a non-white woman. It's just my preference. But we all know that's very uncomfortable that we could say that. And because it's uncomfortable, we lie to ourselves and we lie to other people, say, it doesn't matter what race they are. It's just what matters inside. I'll date any race. Okay, well, you'd also date a transsexual, wouldn't you? No, I only want to date women. Wait a minute. Well, women and men, that's gender discrimination. What's wrong with a transsexual? Isn't it all what's inside? Okay, I'll date a transsexual now. Do you see where it goes? Preferences are preferences. But I would say, number one, if you're a black woman and you're not getting the attention you want, don't first look at white men or Asian men, not like black women are chasing Asian men. It's the same thing. I would first look at black men. Those are your brothers, your fathers, your husbands, your sons, and say, hey, why aren't you finding me attractive? That's where I would start. Because again, I really focus on white women. And obviously I have a lot of experience with Asian women just because I'm here, but I didn't move to Asia for the women. So I like to focus on white women. What are the other Indian black women doing? I don't know, best of luck and do what you got to do. But sometimes focus on your own first and try to fix that problem besides going out. Anyway, I see sparring. Short sucks for fighting, but good. Yeah, I could tell you something. I said it. So obviously I got this little Asian girl. She's a nice little girl. Anyway, don't go into it. And like I said, everyone knows me. I love the white women's DNA, but I got to admit their attitudes with feminism, I can't do it anymore. Asian women, not into having kids with them, but I really like their attitude. I mean, it's like I'm the boss and she takes the orders. But anyway, I'm 6'5". It sucks flying. Let's face it, flying business, it's not like I'm leaving much on passports, but before I was traveling a lot, it is not fun to fly business coach economy class, especially on long flights that are like 3-5 hours or more. This girl's like 5'3". She's like a little kid. She's got the body of a kid, and she sits in the seat, and she's like, so what I'm trying to say is, whatever God, genetics, mom and dad dealt you, I guarantee whatever bad genetics you think you have, there's got to be some good things, and focus on that. That's part of the leadership too. We do on what's called personal development. A lot of people focus on how to correct their negative traits or their weaknesses. Truth be told, you're better off focusing on your strengths and taking whatever a strength is and turn it into a super strength. Every man has a skill. Maybe I don't know. I'm going to take I'll say economics and say, listen, you're very strong in economics. Let's take that even stronger. And we're going to make you world renowned in economics. Yeah, but I'm sure, trust me, dude, because that is one thing that women all appreciate is success. And if you could take whatever strength you have from because everyone should have a strength no matter what. And if you could take that normal strength and turn it into a super strength as a guy, you are going to attract women. So again, try not to focus on the negative. Focus more on the strength, but at the same time, everyone. That's also something I do have to admit. Remember, I'm different than people leaving America. I left. I think it's going to go to civil war, but I've never badmouthed America. I never said, screw you. I was very thankful that I was born and raised in America. Very thankful. But leadership's leadership. It's going to go to class. But I do have to admit, one of the strengths that a lot of these, well, not immigrants, because the immigrants know it, but let's say racial minorities born and raised in America, you're very lucky you're an American, because I could tell you something. If you go to these other non-Western countries, life is tough. It helps if you're a white guy, but I'll go back to the black person. Think about it. To the blacks in America, do you want to be born and raised in Africa, your homeland, your motherland, with all your brothers and sisters? I guarantee not. So just, meaning sometimes, I guess this is the biblical nature. Be thankful for what you have and focus on maybe your health, maybe you're just healthy. But I do have to admit, because again, it's not like I downplay America, but it is going to collapse. Sorry, and we'll do videos. But if you're born in America, which is a tier 1 country, That by itself, having an American passport and being born, it is a lucky. I mean, you are part of the lotto system. I won't go into it. We'll do other videos, but I do want to focus on whatever weaknesses that you have. I guarantee there are things in your life that you're blessed with, that you got lucky with. There's some type of strength. Women are a little different, but for men, women are attracted by success. Don't focus on your weaknesses or your abnormalities. Focus on something, and you have to have it. I guarantee you have it. Some type of above average ability, some type of strength, and focus on taking it from a strength, which is good, turning it into a super strength. And I'm telling you, once you do that, success is going to come. And then all of a sudden, you're going to realize, wow, why am I attractive? Women are attracted to success. So that's it. Let's go to another one right here. This is another typical one. We're focused a lot on black women. We'll go into it anyway. Here we go.
Date a white woman than date. So apparently a black man would rather date a white woman than date a black woman. Why? Why? I need to know. So please tell me why you would rather date their hair. What? Because they have straight hair? We have hair too. Don't we have hair? Okay, so tell me why. A black man will rather date a white woman than a black woman. A successful black man. Yeah, I need to know.
So if you look at black athletes, usually, let's face it, when black people really come into money and success, not always, of course, we're making generalizations. It's fun. Stereotypes are fun, this and that, and maybe they could change on statistics, but stereotypes, it is what it is. So black people, usually when they become rich and famous, sports, or it could be music. But if you look at those black athletes, one of the monikers of success, they want a white woman. You think those black people also aren't leaving their black neighborhoods? So going back to her, why are black men chasing white women? Well, the first is talk to them, ask them. They're, anytime you see a black man with a white woman, ask, what do I think? Men are more simplistic creatures than women. And what do I mean by that? Beauty. A woman's beauty can really melt a man, which is also dangerous because women will also use their beauty, their attraction, their sexual to manipulate men. But men are really simplistic. We don't care if you graduated college. Anytime we don't even care if you're smart or not, but beauty. And that beauty is also could be looked upon as a status too, which it is. So anyway, why are black men dating white women? Probably, because if it wasn't an issue, why would these videos be coming out? There's so many of them. It's common knowledge now of this anger. Remember, jealousy leads to anger, leads to hate. This is kind of what happens with these racial minorities. It just is what it is. But anyway, why? Well, probably there's something that black men look at white women and they think, wow, they are attractive, particularly too physically attractive. It is what it is. There's stuff, and we could do other studies too that's been done. Why? White skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. It is what it is. But one of the things I say is there is this jealousy. We even got it, even me. Remember when you were in high school and Bobby won the prize, but you didn't, or Jimmy likes her. We're still many times children. We're like adult children. Some of us have grown past of it, but some of us are still acting like grown children. That's why she's making the video here. But I would just say that probably black men, generally speaking, find white women more attractive than black women. And they're all their videos. If I'm wrong, well, then ask them. That's what you're asking. But let's go. Let's go to the next video.
Experiments. This is part 3 of I'm back with day 22 of my dating app experiments. This is part 3 of changing my race from black to white on Hinge. So before I change my race,
it's interesting. People think this is just out of the blue. Why don't you change your race to Asian or Indian or Mexican? There's this always fascination with white. And I've said this, what culture is the most culturally appropriated culture in the world? European. What languages is everyone speaking? English. They want to speak English. What passports does everyone want? Western white passports. What is the number one race that people want to interbreed with? White men and white women. What universities, this and that. So when I think of cultural appropriation, the first thing I think of is white Western European, number one. But anyway, she wants to see what her life was like as a white woman. That's fine, and it could have been random, but why didn't you try Indian women or Mexican women? Anyway, so because the jealousy usually lies with she feels jealous of white women. Why? 9 times out of 10, who do black men prefer? White women. They're not chasing Mexican women. They're not chasing Asian women if they could get white women. It's generally how it is. It's, again, I get it. Some of this stuff is, and I'd be happy to debate people, but what we all know, these are uncomfortable truths that I'm talking about, and people get emotional, and when they get emotional, they stop thinking critical, and then it comes out to, well, he's just a white supremacist, this and that, and you know where it goes. But anyway, let's continue with her.
Hinge was showing me profiles I would not have considered compatible in terms of lifestyle, education, or career. This is why I had 0 matches in the 2.5 weeks that I was on Hinge. That all changed when I changed my race. I started seeing profiles from all races that I would consider to be compatible with what I'm looking for. Hinge started showing me a completely different pool of profiles the moment I went from black to white. I am tricking the algorithm. I'm hopefully not tricking the men. I'm really just trying to report what
Well, you are technically tricking the men. We'll go into this later.
I am seeing. But if you asked me for my hypothesis, I'd say that there is bias built into the algorithm that is systematically prioritizing black women. The match, he's cute, so
So I'm gonna tell you the answer to that. There are men, particularly like me, and you see these algorithms matching, like, are you a morning person? Are you a night person? Are you vegetarian? Are you a grumpy person? And they try to match you. Here's the problem. And it is true. If I'm just looking for a woman to have sex with or date, I get it. But I'm looking for these, if I'm looking for literally a woman that I want to have children with, relationships, here's the problem. And I guarantee I'm not alone. Whether we are a match like personality, or I want her to graduate a business degree, all this stuff. If she's not white, I don't care. It's just because there's a time where we draw. And there's many times that people also draw the line in the same with other stuff. You've seen it with women. Like, he's the perfect man, but he's 5 feet tall. You don't think there's women like that? Like, he's perfect personality. He makes the money. He makes everything, but he's 5 feet tall. Ain't gonna happen. We know that with women. Well, guess what? Men have their preferences too. And there's things that I don't really care if we're so much of a match, because that racial preference is so important to me that's number one. And so you could put into, what race do you want the woman to be? White. Are you willing to do other race? No. Boom. Do you think I'm the only one? I guarantee I'm not. So that's why you're not being shown to me. But then I'm talking with a black woman, then when you were very deceitful, because what you're doing is you're lying and you're changing your race. So yeah, you are deceiving the men. When you change your race to white woman, then yeah, now you're popping up on my screen. I'm like, hey, let's see what. But some people have what's called, bright line standards where you are not negotiable. And women have them too. It could be income. It could be this. Well, guess what? There are men, and I guarantee I'm not alone, particularly white men, that particularly when it comes to having children, if that woman is not white, it's not negotiable. I'm sorry. So then when you change your profile to white, all of a sudden you're showing up on mine and your screens. So anyway, something like that, but people don't get it. Let's go back to the racial thing.
Don't get shy, Miss Confident. Where are the most handsome men for you? Jesus. Say it. Don't get shy now.
Jesus.
Don't get shy, Miss Confident.
Oh my God, that was difficult.
What do you go off more? Do you have a particular type? Would you have a personality type?
Both. Everyone has a type. You do have a type too.
No,
what is your type?
I do. Guess my type.
I'm going to guess that his type is white women and her type is white men. That's my guess.
White. White.
Do I give off I like white girls?
You have a face. Usually black people, we do like white people.
I feel like it's more black guys that like white girls. I feel like more black girls usually like black guys.
Not me.
No, you like white guys?
Yeah, I do.
Hey.
But that's not something that I don't date black men. I do, but everyone has a preference.
Yeah, preferences,
so.
correct.
Please post that.
It's getting posted. Look at her face. It's getting posted everywhere. All the white guys.
Okay, so the leadership lesson in that is, it's not why white men or white women do not prefer to date black men and women or other races. The question is, why don't black people like to date other black people? That would be more important. Why doesn't a black woman want? Because most of the time, black women unfortunately, they're sort of at the lower end. They're not sort of, they are at the lower end of preferential treatment. So sometimes they'll get what they get. But if they could get with a white man, most times they will kick that black man out. And a black man, of course, they'll kick that black woman out. So the point being is, and of course, I'm making generalization. So the more the question is not why don't white men and white women want to date blacks or this or Asians or Indians? The more the question is, why don't these other races, particularly this conversation, black, why don't black men prefer their first choice to be black women? And why don't black women first choice prefer to be with black men? That should be more the important question. I'd be very interested. I think they would be uncomfortable to answer that question, not me. They would be, but that would be my question to answer. Let's go back to this.
It's honestly as if no, but it is as if they're under some sort of spell. It's honestly as if our men, our black men, are under some sort of spell. I swear to you, like, they don't just date the white woman because they want to date the white woman. It's a spell. There is something spiritual going on. For you to leave your queen to go and date something we invented.
Not quite sure what she means by invented, but it is. It's a slap in the when a black man, and this goes with all, again, if my white daughter, obviously my daughter would be white, if my daughter wanted to date another man of another race, then the question is why wouldn't she want a man? And I've said this before, this is psychology 101. If you picture a son with his mother or a daughter with her father, and they say the same thing. So the son says, Mom, I found the woman of my dreams to marry, have kids with. Dad, I'm the daughter. Dad, I found the man of my dreams to get married, this and that. And there's two conversations. The one conversation, both of them describe the woman or the man, and has nothing in comparison, nothing remotely like the mother or the father. It's a different race, whatever. He's a hippie, he's a druggie, whatever you are as a father or whatever you as a mother, they're describing a person that's not like you at all, different politics, everything. And guess what? You're going to feel a little offended as a father or a mother. You're going to say, what the hell's going on? Reverse. They describe their future husband and future wife to the mother and father, and it's almost the exact same person. He's like, Dad, not like I got big dreams of West Point. I don't even want my kids to go to West Point. But anyway, you get my point. He's like, wow, he's a West Point graduate. He's a white guy. He's a boxer. He's this. And I'm like, that guy sounds almost like me. I'm talking to my daughter. And she goes, yes, because I love you, Dad. I respect you. It hits you. It hits you hard. So again, I would go back to this conversation. This is not really a conversation first. I mean, if you want to invite white people, I'm happy to talk about it because we're bombarded. Because again, our problem in America and Europe is we allowed this multicultural diversity to destroy our country. So it's our fault. The fault lies on white men. So we're bombarded with this, but this topic really should be, she should be talking to black men. I don't know, talk to them. Why? Is there some type of spell on black men? No, I think it's biological. I think black men just look at white women and they get horny like, man, this woman is hot. They look at black women and are like, I'm just not physically attracted to them. Don't think I'm wrong? I don't know. Ask them. That's the key point. Let's talk about this. This is other stuff that's just absolutely, I said some of the, and this is also the reason why I'm not into mixed kids. I see a lot of them in Asia. It's the typical. It's a white dude and an Asian woman. And these mixed kids, I'm telling you, these are some of the worst. And I can explain biology and psychology why they have a lot of problems, which is another reason I'm not into any mixed kids. But we're going to show this video. This woman's mixed, and she's talking about how racist Germany is. Let's hear what she says.
Lynn, it's something I think about a lot. How racist is Germany, really? As an immigrant living...
Well, I could say, let's just interrupt her. I can say that the Western world, to include Germany, are the least racist countries in the world. Don't think so? Well, if you were in China, they would be looking at you as a Negro. At least in the West, there's much more respect. So again, how racist is Germany and other white Western countries? The least racist countries in the world. So hopefully that answers her question.
In Berlin, it's something I think about a lot. Now, new studies are looking at racism across German society and inside public institutions, like immigration offices, police, and job centers. 1 in 3 people in Germany still believe in biological human races, a concept that scientists have long rejected.
Is that the most retarded? They still believe in the biological human races. It almost sounds like the same thing with gender. Like, can you believe the Germans believe in the biology of gender? Yes. What type of pseudoscience is going on in Europe these days? Yes. Gender is real. That's science. It's based on biology. Race is real. Race is just the color of our skin. No. Have you ever been to Japan? They look pretty white to me, but for some reason, I still can tell a Japanese person over a European. It's more than skin color. It's your DNA. So it almost sounds like the same thing about gender. Gender is some made up belief. Like, who are these people? What's going on in Germany? Another reason. That's the one thing I got to admit. If you think the feminism and multi is bad in America, Western Europe, obviously I'm not talking about Eastern Europe, Western Europe, that place is done.
And 2 in 3 think some cultures are better than others. A quarter of black people in Germany report being insulted or attacked at least once a month. And in one survey, 80% of Muslims reported discrimination when dealing with authorities. In fact,
well, I'd say one thing, because Germany is not an Islamic country. You're going to be, I get issues when I'm in China. Why? I'm a white guy. You stand out. You take it with a grain of salt. Like, at the end of the day, if the people don't like the Germans, why don't they leave? Germany is a European country. It's for the Europeans. I would say that. But anyway, I go on to it. But if your treatment is so bad in Germany, that's what people always like to say. Remember when you were a kid and you looked at the blacks go back to Africa and they looked at the whites go back to Europe? Well, I physically left America. I went to China. So if life is so bad for you as a non-white person living in Western countries, why don't you leave? No one's forcing you to be there. Go back home where you're not going to feel all that evil racism from white people. They won't do it. Why? Because they're spoiled. I've said this many times. The white man has spoiled women, racial minorities, and immigrants. If you disagree with me on that, name me the country where women are treated better, racial minorities are treated better, or immigrants are treated better. It's going to be almost impossible to top the Western countries. Almost impossible.
researchers found evidence of racial discrimination in all the institutions they examined, often subtle and built into routines and decision-making. Overall, 3 in 4 immigrants say they've experienced discrimination in Germany.
I do see a bit of hostility towards immigrants in general, and they tend to overlook our issues a lot.
From my perspective, it's all treated fairly.
Seems like there are some cases that there's some unfairness.
People who experience discrimination are less likely to trust the system. But researchers say there are ways to improve things, like independent complaint offices, more anti-racism training.
Oh, geez, nightmare. Does this not sound like a nightmare? The government overwatch, DEI.
And better representation in public institutions. Germany's anti-discrimination commissioner calls the new findings a wake-up call, saying support for diversity isn't enough. Stronger action is needed. What do you think?
Well, I can tell you what I think. You know how China battles this problem? They just don't have immigrants. I'm technically not an immigrant. I will never be Chinese. And if I complain and get out of line, I'll be sent to jail and deported. So that's how China takes this problem. They said, you know something? Look at the West. Look at all these problems with immigrants, with women, with racial minorities. What's our solution? We don't want any of that. That's their solution. Like I said, if you're a black person or Muslim, whatever, you don't think, you know how China stamps down on Islam in China? They'll blow up your church and kill you. They don't screw around. The Chinese government does not screw around. That country, China, is for the Chinese. And Islam, they do have Muslims in China, but I can tell you something, those Muslims fit in. And if you get out of line, you ever hear the Uyghurs in Xinjiang? Is there a genocide? I'm not going to confirm, or I'm not going to deny that. But I'm telling you, there is no tolerance in China. You get out of line, you're done. The amount of tolerance that the white man has given toward women, racial minorities, and immigrants is at the level that we will destroy our countries. It's destroy our countries. That's why they don't leave. Why? Because they know they've been spoiled. They know they've been spoiled. Anyway, let's keep going on with these stories here.
And racism towards black. As a community, we need to stop infantilizing Asian racism towards black people. And I know this is contentious. I know it's like a little bit of a crazy topic, but hear me out. So I've been to my fair share of countries in my life. I've been to Korea, Japan, Vietnam. I've been
Good. I haven't seen these whole videos. The reason why I don't need to see these videos is unless he's lying, I know what the answer is going to be. All you have to do as a black man or black woman, go live in Asia. Again, I'm not an expert on Africa or the Middle East. I've traveled a lot around the world, but I know a lot about China, much more than them all. And I'm telling you, if you're a black person from America and you live in China and you say, the Chinese treat me better in China than the white people in America. You were talking out your asshole. Out your asshole. No way. Not even close. Let's see what he says, though.
Taiwan, I've been to Thailand, right? Like I've been to tons of Asian countries, and in all of these Asian countries, in some way, shape, or form, I have experienced some level of like discrimination, right?
Okay, good. Hopefully he's starting out on the right foot by telling the truth.
And something that I hate and something that I've also seen is that for a lot of us, you know, my brothers and sisters out there, sometimes when we're faced with moments that are otherwise deemed as racist, we allow it or we provide room for permission because we're trying to come from this gaze of, oh, they're just trying to understand me, when frankly, sometimes things are just racist. I remember years ago, there was this Korean lady that came up to me and she reached out. She reached out to touch my hair because, you know, her hair texture was a little bit different from mine. And I batted her hand away. And frankly, I said, hey, don't fucking touch me. Like, I do not know who you are, right? And of course, she looked offended, whatever. But it's these types of moments where you need to start checking people. Because as much as we want to sit here and say like, oh, maybe it's because they have never seen a black person or they have never experienced a black person, at the same time, it's kind of like, well, gang, we're in 2026, right? Like, we live in a global economy. There are people of all different races and hues that travel all over the damn world. So for me to sit here and allow for this random ass person to touch me because they have never, you know, experienced a black person, or better yet, and this is something else I've experienced, people coming up to me and like taking pictures of me. I remember when I was in Thailand and I was just like, you know, enjoying the water with my boys. And then I see like, you know, some Asian people just taking pictures of me, and it's weird. Like let's call a spade a spade. It is weird. And I think that as a community, we need to be extremely firm about this stuff, because think about it. If it were like, let's say it was a white person trying.
I don't know where he's talking. Again, I get these videos random. Let's just use common sense. In America, we had a black man as our president, actually mixed. Notice I keep saying I'm not a big fan of mixed, but anyway, he's a black guy, Obama. We had a black man as the president of our country. And I guarantee tons of white men and white women voted for him. In China, you as a black person, even as a white person, but as a black, you can't even become a citizen. They will not even allow you to become a citizen, regardless, born there, married there, they don't care. So the part is, you have America, a black man became the president of the country, the leader. And that man was supported by tons of white men and white women. In China, they're not even going to give you a citizen. It's not even on the same dimension. It's not even on the same dimension. Because if you think I'm wrong and you're a black person, go live in Asia, have fun. You're not going to do it. I'm telling you, you're not going to. I mean, black people aren't even going to go back to Africa, right? Think about it. If you're a black person and you really want to stop, if you can't handle the racism that's happening in the West, think about a good logical question. That's why people don't believe you, because it's just complaining. Why don't you move to Africa where you're around all black people? Well, you don't want to do it. But if you live around all black, because I can tell you something, living in Africa, you'll realize that white people treat you better than black people. Don't think so? Let's take a look at this video.
When I look back on this, we almost done now because we had to hire white people. We got, after waiting 4 years on black people, I decided to start hiring whites. And guess what? They did in 1 year what the black people couldn't do in 5. Y'all hear that? They did in 1 year what the black people couldn't do in 5. White people overcharged us too, but they finished the work.
Yeah.
Right? But let me give you this though. And I can say this now because I'm over it. FDMG to almost every black contractor we ran into was nothing but a hustle and a way to get a quick bag. When I look back, they simply used us to get money. They didn't care about me. They didn't care about that school. They didn't care about our kids. We were just a quick hustle.
And you know, that was where my next question was leading to, because I feel like even if they didn't want to represent you publicly or publicly come out and say, I am giving.
Just move on.
So again, part of the reason, like I said, there's many reasons why the collapse in America is going to happen. It's going to be focused obviously on economic, but we talked about it. The globalization, the feminism, the multiculturalism. One is going to be the race. And I can tell you, sooner or later, white men are going to just have it with women, because I'm telling you something, all these women, these MAGA women, they are feminists. If you're a woman and you believe that you deserve the right to vote, I'm not against that, but you're a feminist. And you're going to be treated like a feminist, which means there's no gender, because you don't want to be discriminated. So again, transsexuals in women's sports, it's the best thing that can happen. Get these women to quit their sports, get in the kitchen to make babies. So again, I go back to the story. This system's going to get to the point where white men are going to be happy with the three groups. First is going to be women. They're going to start putting women on the spot and saying, listen, we've had it. You're either a feminist and you're going to be treated like a man, or you're a traditional woman. And that dividing line is, do you believe in voting or not? That's it. That's the only question. Second, racial. We're going to go on this. We are going to realize that we have spoiled the racial minorities. I cannot tell you how China has opened up my eyes. They don't take any of that stuff. And we are going to say we've had it. We have absolutely had it with this feeling of guilt. And what's happening is, and in fact, in many ways, there's reverse discrimination against white men. It's done. Same thing with immigrants. And Trump is working on that, at least with illegal immigrants. He's not doing it with legal immigrants. You're going to see this. It's going to happen. But we are so tired because, again, at the end of the day, the black people are going to realize that who treats you the best? They don't believe it. Like what I'm saying right now, they would believe. I'm telling you, to the black people, the best people that treat you are white people. You don't think so? Go back to Africa, and I guarantee you living in Africa would say, I am done with this place. I get treated better by white people in America than my own brothers and sisters in Africa. I wish it wasn't the case. I do. I think it would be a cool story, whatever, CNN, Discovery Channel, where the African-American man says, but he should be a little polite. Just like when I left America, I was very thankful, but, make it a pop story like, I was very happy to be born and raised in America, but I do have to admit there is racism in America. I get that. And I want to live with my own people. And they go back to Africa, they start a business, successful. And he's like, I love Africa. And I married an African woman. I've learned the African language. It could turn into a movie. And I really wish that was. But nine times out of 10, it's fantasy. I mean, if just like the black people constantly complain about how they were put on ships and brought to America, if we had to put the black people on ships and back to Africa, what would they doing? They'd be screaming out of their mind. To the black people that were born in America, I keep saying you should look at what you're thankful for. You being born and raised in America with an American passport compared to Africans in Africa, you hit the lotto. Don't think so? Then like I said, why don't you want to move back? There are white people in America that are leaving and going to Europe. It's not that, there's black people leaving America going to Europe, but it's not that abnormal for an American white man to leave America and move to Europe or maybe Canada or Australia. What's the percentage of black people, just percentage of leaving in America and going to Africa? It's probably not even the same Richter scale, not even on the same percentage wise. So less than 1%. So you have to ask yourself, perhaps you were the lucky ones that however bad slavery was, and we all agree, well, not a good idea. It is what it is. We learn. There's slavery still going on in Africa. No one cares about. But at the end of the day, your family got an American passport and was able to grow up in America, which has where Africans now in Africa are trying so much to get to America. So maybe think about that and lucky, but probably never will. Let's go to one more video. This is about the dating scene again.
Why didn't you fall in love with a black woman? Why you don't have a black woman?
So again, this guy looks, again, I don't know these people, but he looks the guy on the bottom looks like a mixed race person. There are a lot of issues. And I keep saying that I should do a video on this. We are constantly flooded in the media that mixed race is good. It's great. There are so many problems with mixed race kids because I see them all the time. It's the white dude, it's the Asian women. And I know how these mixed case girls are, Asian white. And oh, by the way, trust me, these Asian women, as much as they say they want mixed race kids, it's only with white people. It's like 99% they want white people. They don't want mixed races with blacks, with Indian. It's always the white man. The Asian man would like to get a white woman. It's just very difficult. They don't get it. But anyway, a lot of problems. So anyway, the guy on the bottom here looks mixed. It seems, half black, half white. So anyway, that could answer a little bit. But let's hear what they have to say. Last video.
Because I fell in love with a white woman, not a black
Why didn't you fall in love with a black woman?
I fell in love with a black woman when we broke up.
Okay. And why didn't you fall in love with another black woman?
I did that too. We broke up.
Okay. And why didn't you get another one and another one and another one until you found the right one?
Because I met a white woman that I fell in love with, and that's the person that
And
I'm
you're
with
being
today.
disingenuous about
That's not
something.
true.
And let me tell you what you're being
Shoot.
disingenuous about.
Shoot.
Romance is a function of focus and opportunity. If I want to date an Asian, I'm going to put myself around Asian women so I can find one. If I want to date a Latino, I'm going to put myself around Latino women so I can date one. If you wanted to marry a black woman, you would have put yourself around black women so you can find one. So how did you end up with the Caucasian? No disrespect to her.
No, not at all. What I'm telling you is the places that I go socially are not just monolithic.
So what? I went to
I'm
a white college, white job. I never bunny.
So the guy, I don't know much about the guy at the above. He's like I guess his name's Omar. I guess you call him a black nationalist. There's probably many things I'd agree on, but we'll finish the clip. He's absolutely right. At the end of the day, that guy at the bottom of the screen, he wanted a white woman. He wanted a white woman. I mean, do you think I'm ever going to be like, well, I wanted a white woman, but I couldn't get her and I happen to be. No, again, I totally agree. I think friendships with other racial people, I think it's great. Yeah, be friends with them. I got no problem with that. David, I'm friends with a black person. Yeah, knock yourself out. Have a good time. I mean, I'm friends with Asians. I've learned a lot from Asian people. But there is a line in the sand, I think we all on it, is when you're looking for your wife or your husband, particularly when you want to make children. So the point being is, the guy at the bottom right there, you know what I think? He just wanted white women. Just wanted white women. Because I'm not going to be in the situation that says, well, I guess I was around black women, so I guess I'm just not going to do it. Look at me. I'm in Asia. I'm surrounded by fucking Asian women all the time. Do you know how easy it is for me? Do you know how much money I've been offered for my sperm to have children with these women? There's a reason that sperm banks in Asia, white men or foreign men, but it's meant to keep white men out. Foreign men are not allowed to donate sperm there. These women will devour it. So I'm looking at him. I'm in Asia. I'm surrounded by Asian girls that are just drooling for white men. Now, I've had plenty of sex with Asian women, and I've purposely done many measures. I'm not getting them pregnant. But if I wanted to get them pregnant, pretty much not doing it. So back to him. He's like, well, I just happen to be with a white woman because I was hanging out with them. Well, I'm hanging out with a lot of Asian women, but I have standards. So I don't know. My guess is he probably prefers to be with a white woman. Is anything wrong with that? I mean, nothing in general, but I think what's wrong with it is don't be facetious about it and just say, yeah, I prefer white women. And that would be the good interview. Why? I don't know. I probably think he'd say, I find them more beautiful. I think they have a higher status, this and that. And then we could debate whether that's good or not. I mean, it's his freedom in many ways. And I don't blame him. I blame the white women. Just like I put blame on the white man, I put blame on the white woman. But if we're going to use that same argument, I'm in Asia. I'm surrounded day and day by Asian girls. Never going to go that thing. So I think it was more that it wasn't that he was surrounded by white women. I think he was pursuing white women. That was his number one choice. That's my guess.
Listen to my question. Let me answer you. That wasn't my priority. My priority wasn't, I'm not closed off to dating Latino women. I'm not closed off to dating Asian women. I'm not closed off to dating white women. So again,
well, I could tell you something. Most Asian women are not into black men. I've said that many times. These Asian women, like white men, other than that, they are not into these other races.
In my search for romance, all of those things were on the table.
But you do understand that by not being with a black woman, you undermine the success of the black community.
That's your opinion.
That's my opinion. Then tell.
Yeah, because what happens is, I don't think you realize this, but you want to know where the concept of white supremacy comes out? It's not that white people necessarily think of themselves as superior. It's the other races. So if you're a black man and you say, I prefer white women, which is the case with him, what are you saying? I prefer white DNA. I want to have a son who looks like me, like he wants a mixed son. That's what it is. I mean, you could do that, but it's different than me. I went to Asia. In some ways, yes, I respected them. I wanted to learn their culture, but the highest level of respect is when you want to create children with their DNA, which is okay. But I'm just saying, I don't find white people walking around saying, we're the superior race, we're the superior race. I find it the opposite of the non-whites who just have, it's a Chinese saying, it's called 崇洋媚外, where they just adore, they look up to, and they just can't wrap their head around not having white people. So by him pursuing a white woman, for him to prefer a white woman to have children with, for him to prefer his children are white, having white DNA, he's actually the white supremacist. He views the white DNA as superior to the black DNA. It's a very insulting maneuver he's doing, a display of action toward his black mother, and of course, I think he's mixed. So I think he tries to portray himself, well, I am white. And it's like, no, you're not. And we could go on with that, but that's really when I think about white supremacy, what is, it's not from white people. It's constantly what I go back to white Western cultural appropriation, where they want to be us. And the highest level, they call it, what's the highest level of flattery, is the comedic, when you do impersonations. When you want your own children to have DNA from that race, that's the highest level. Some people could call it respect. I guess so. But it's also that form where you believe their DNA is superior to your DNA. That's what I think. I believe he did not want to be with a black woman. Could be wrong, but here we go.
Tell me how the black community benefits from you having a white woman.
If I lend to the financial uplifting of that community, one, that's one thing. Two, if I'm helping to educate the people in that particular.
Yeah, most black people, once they get successful, they want to leave the black community. They want to live in a white community. It is what it is.
The community, that's a benefit.
Does not your white woman benefit more from your economics than any black person?
Yeah, probably.
Exactly.
So why can't they both be mutually beneficial?
You want to know why? Because she belongs to the group that is responsible for the historical oppression of your race. So why would you voluntarily go over and marry into that? Because when you marry the woman, you don't just marry the woman or date the woman. You're dating her community and her culture. And given the history of us and them, why would you dare align yourself with that if you care about us?
Let me ask you a question. I want you to let me get my answers out.
Go ahead.
So hypothetically, if you're in one tribe, I'm in another tribe. That tribe is responsible for killing some people in your family.
Okay.
We're gonna keep it right here. You're a Crip, I'm a Blood.
Okay.
You're responsible for killing some of my people for the last 30, 40 years. I'm responsible for killing some of your people for the last 30, 40 years. I'm gonna judge you because you're a Blood or you're a Crip based on all of the shit that your peoples and your crew did for the last 30, 40 years, or am I gonna judge you based on who you are?
I understand your analysis, but here's where I disagree with your analysis. Although your white girlfriend, and possibly probably none of her family owned a slave, you understand?
They're from Portugal.
Hung an African. They're from Portugal. Although the Portuguese were some of the first ones in the slave trade.
Are the very
absolutely. They built most of the dungeons in Africa.
Sure did.
So.
Okay, we don't have to go through this. Here we're gonna wrap it up with this saying that I'm gonna do, and that is, think of the amount of what's happening in America for the last 50, 60 years. I mean, the laws, how much we are trying in America to fit together, to come along, to work together. Race doesn't matter, gender doesn't matter, go on. And what is happening? It's getting worse and worse and worse. One of the reasons is because America is becoming more and more multi-ethnic. We know that. It's not just the black, more Indians, more Asians. So I want you to know, as America becomes more multiracial, do these racial tensions, hence racism, whatever, white supremacy, you get it, the conflict between races, is it rising or lowering? So I want you to ask yourself, if you went back to America 100 years ago, if you went back to America 200 years ago, which probably was all white, just a basic common sense question, were racial tensions higher or lower? The reason in China, where they don't have many racial problems, is because they don't have multiracialism in China. It's 95% are Han Chinese. The other 5% are still of Chinese ethnicity. So the part is as American, meaning it's turning into a broken record, right? You probably even when I grew up in America, there was still racial tensions. Remember the Rodney King? But it hasn't gone away, number one, and it's getting worse, number two. So whatever solution that our government, Hollywood, media, the corporations are trying to do to solve this, to eradicate racism, it's not working. And in many ways, you probably think it's getting worse, which I agree. Because as a country becomes more multiracial, there's going to be more conflict. So where do you think this is going? It's not going to get better, but just ask yourself. And the more laws we do, remember we had laws like Jim Crow, and I get it, a lot of them were just over the top. But we've tried to amend, affirmative action. We've done all these rules and laws and procedures and culture where the white man is a politician, but it's not working. That's my point I'm saying. The problem is getting worse and worse and worse. And then there's probably a correlation where America is becoming also more and more multiracial. Where if this thing goes, I guess, how low will whites go, right? I mean, how much is diversity where it's good? Whites are 30%. No, they're 20%. That's even better. 10%. That's phenomenal. I mean, where does this go? Where does this pendulum swing? And sooner or later, you're going to realize this ain't going to work. And what's going to happen? Well, people are going to leave. More and more white Americans are leaving. Or two, we're becoming more and more disfranchised, where they're like, man, we're all Americans. Fuck no, we're not. Even me, I've said that. I don't consider we are 350 million individuals of too much diversity. We're pocketed right here. So where do you think this is going to go? Do you think one of the reasons America is going to collapse is multiracial? It is. People don't want to talk. It is one of the reasons. We talk about feminism. And who's pushing this? Some people are like the Jews. Well, I'm not going to argue with that. But I definitely think the corporations are. Why? Because the corporations are of a globalist mentality. And many times our corporations and our government are tied into one. So the part is this globalization, globalism, feminism, communism. We keep saying in America we're against communism. We have many times more communist policies in America than fascist China. I mean, you could like fascism or not, but it's a lot better than communism. But this multiracialism, that is definitely not fascism. That's more communism. And we love multiracial. In fact, we love it so much. If you're a white person, you're like, I don't like multiracialism. Well, then you're a racist. You get in a lot of trouble. So I just want to leave it at that, because the reason why I want to leave it at that is, guess what? You're going to get them bombarded with so many other videos of other podcasts or other news of what's the topic? Racism. In America, we really need to get in charge of racism. And white, it never ends. It never ends. And it gets worse and worse and worse. Maybe the solution is sooner or later separation. And to the blacks in America that don't want to go back to Africa, maybe give them a couple states in America and best of luck to them. But sooner or later, Americans are going to have to, particularly white men and white women, are going to have to come to the realization that multiracial societies do not work. They don't. Never in history successful. Obviously, there's been unsuccessful multiracial society, never successful. None. Go look at that. Because if it is, then that is a good example of us in America to try to say, hey, this is a country. It's a successful multiracial country, and they did it. All right, then show me the playbook. Show me the instructions. Show me the map. None. They don't exist. Even in Israel, the Jews constantly put the Jew. I'll tell you, you want to go to Israel and you're not ethnically Jewish, good luck to you. They don't want it. I agree with them. I agree with China. Once you start living in these countries, you believe that ethno-states, it's probably how it was. And that's how we used to be too in America, Europe. They were ethno. You think our founding fathers, George Washington, say, the goal in America is we're going to eventually become a No, they probably founded America. Not probably. This was a land for white men. Look at the books. I don't think they would like this. So where's this going to go? Well, eventually it's going to be one of the legs to collapse. But I just want you to ask yourself, are you feel like you're getting constantly overwhelmed with racism? Do you really think we're going to solve it in 10 years or 20 years? Like, where's the solution? But in the meantime, we're becoming more and more and more multiracial. Well, that's just putting gasoline on the fire. That's not going to help. Anyway, that's it for now. Anyway, back to Chris. Chris, thanks for the support. This was a tribute to Chud the Builder. Again, I don't know Chud's case. Maybe he is guilty. Maybe there is a form of harassment, stalking, threatening, whatever, physical violence. But what I do agree with, we are losing our First Amendment free speech. We know that, anyone. And if you as a white man say the word nigger, which is an impolite word, and generally speaking, you shouldn't say it. But if you do say it, and you have any type of issues, particularly with black people at that time, the law is going to use that word and it's going to weaponize it against you. And that's wrong. That's wrong. It still is freedom of speech. But depending on your actions that you do or what Chud did, he still may be guilty. Again, I don't know the facts. But a white guy saying the word nigger, and then he gets in some type of altercation with black people, that word is going to be weaponized to him. That the scales of justice are going to go bang, and he's going to be in trouble. And we have to ask ourselves if we're losing faith, family, freedom. What is Trump failing? We're going to wrap it up quick. What is Trump failing to do? I don't know. faith, Christian. Are we becoming more of a Christian country under Trump? I don't know. It's debatable. I don't know how you measure it. Family. Are we becoming more of a European country under Trump? It's debatable. You could tell me. My feelings with Trump are like this. Freedom. Are we having more freedom of speech under Trump? I think that, I mean, even for me with the amount of censorship, I've miraculously come back alive on X. I was suspended. They said permanently. I put an appeal. They came back. They said, your appeal is denied. The suspension stays. So I don't know what happened. But anyway, I don't have a big feeling on freedom of speech, Christian faith, or European family in America. And back to Chud. White man saying the word nigger, you better be careful. Why? Because the white man was brainwashed and he thought multiculturalism is a great idea. Well, this is going to come. Anyway, let me look at comments here. Stupid ass brown clown live in the past. Yeah, it just is what it is. I think a lot of time, this is where I thank the Chinese, because I, as a white man growing up in America, I also had that guilt of, yeah, we did some bad stuff. We white men are racist. Then I living in China. These Chinese are unbelievably racist. It makes you feel better. You're like, I thought I was racist. Oh my God. And you start seeing the world. And then I see people from South Africa. These are the white people talking to me about a white genocide in South Africa. Well, people don't want to report that. You think it's a good idea when blacks become a majority? Well, we have a country that we can look at right now, South Africa. How are the blacks treating the whites in South Africa? Not very good. I've met a ton of white South Africans who flee South Africa. They wanted to go to Europe and America, but it's harder. It costs more money to get the visas, even though they should have been welcome as refugees, which I do think Trump did that, and that's good for Trump. Thank him for that. But so I met a ton of white South Africans in China. And what did they say? China's better than South Africa. They said it's safer than South Africa and has more economic opportunities. And they said, when the blacks took over, this is the post-apartheid, this is the, whatever, the guy, Nelson Mandela became, it just went downhill. So we do have an example that when blacks are in charge and whites are minority, you could take a look at South Africa. That's not a good example at all, not at all. So anyway, where's this stuff going? I think it's going to get worse. Until then, David Baumblatt from Terrapin's Leadership. I appreciate your support to the Patriots. And like I said, whatever Chud the Builder did, remember this. As our freedom of speech goes down, we're going to lose the democracy. We're going to lose it. And we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to fight for those rights. But I do think it's going to end up going to violence sooner or later, because that's part of history. It's going to repeat. Until then, to the Patriots, lead to victory.